With most laptops, you can't actually upgrade the graphics without buying an entirely new laptop. While some laptops do allow you to upgrade the GPU, this is much less common, and many other laptops don't even have discrete graphics at all, making them near useless for gaming. This changes with an external GPU solution, such as the Mantiz Venus Enclosure, which we're going to look at in this video. You can use it to easily connect a full desktop graphics card to your laptop to improve your gaming experience. The Mantiz Venus Enclosure is available in either space grey or silver, which is what I've got here. Basically, what you're buying is the enclosure itself, along with these internals, which include a gold-rated 550-watt power supply. You'll need to provide your own graphics card though. Along with the enclosure, you also get a power cable and 50cm Thunderbolt cable. So you'll have to keep the enclosure somewhat close to your laptop unless you buy a longer cable. This is understandable, as long Thunderbolt cables get pretty expensive. The dimensions of the enclosure are 16.3cm in width, 33cm in depth, and 21.5cm in height, so it's not small, but this does give us a fair bit of room inside for larger cards. It comes with a couple of adhesive rubber feet that you attach to the bottom, and once applied, these did a really good job at stopping it from moving around when pushed. On the front of the enclosure, there's two USB 3.0 Type A ports available. The top and right-hand panel are just solid metal, while the left-hand panel, where the graphics card resides, has these holes for airflow, and we'll see how this affects temperatures later in the benchmarks. On the back, we can see the rear of the power supply. There's 3 more USB 3.0 Type A ports, Gigabit Ethernet port, and the Thunderbolt 3 connector. The network port was a great option, as you can connect to your network using this, and then access the internet from your laptop using the same Thunderbolt connection to the enclosure, rather than connecting the laptop separately. Although the Dell G5 that I'm testing with doesn't support charging over the Thunderbolt port, many laptops do, and the enclosure can provide power delivery up to 87 watts over the Thunderbolt cable. So in many cases, you could literally plug into the enclosure and be set. There's also space for a graphics card with 2 slots, so keep that in mind if you've got one of those huge 3-slot cards. The enclosure is sort of risen up a bit. Underneath there's a gap which allows the front fan to exhaust air down. The side panel removes very easily without needing any tools. You just pull it out from the bottom. It's held in place by these little nubs on the panel, and there's some foam running around the edge of the interior, giving the panel a snug fit. Inside we can see the mainboard, which has the PCIe connection for the graphics card, and the 550-watt power supply behind this. There's also a SATA connector on the I/O board, which you can use to attach an optional 2.5-inch drive. The drive can be mounted inside the enclosure on the opposite wall towards the front, and will be available to your laptop over the Thunderbolt connection, so it's also a nice extra to expand laptop disk space. Setup is fairly straightforward. First, use a Phillips head screwdriver to remove the PCIe covers at the back. I had to first plug in the power connectors before inserting the card into the PCIe slot, and there are 2 6 or 8-pin connectors available. Once inserted, just tighten the screws at the back to keep it secure. Plug the enclosure into the power and connect it to your laptop using the included Thunderbolt cable and you're ready to go. As mentioned, I'm testing with the Dell G5, which I reviewed recently on the channel, as it has Thunderbolt 3 support. After plugging the enclosure in to get it working, I did find that I had to perform a Windows update, as I suddenly had a Thunderbolt update available that I didn't before, and then I had to reinstall the NVIDIA drivers. Although, if your laptop doesn't have discrete graphics, you'll need to install the appropriate drivers anyway, whether they be from AMD or NVIDIA. After that, from then on, it was essentially plug and play. After connecting the enclosure to the laptop, the monitor would start displaying an image. I should also talk about how I've got the monitor set up. It's connected to the graphics card. However, you don't need an external monitor to use the enclosure. It's possible to use the screen of the laptop, however this does reduce the performance as the signal needs to come back over the Thunderbolt connection from the enclosure. To demonstrate this, I've got some game benchmarks from PUBG. We can see that when playing on the external monitor, shown by the orange bars, rather than the laptop display, shown by the blue bars, we're getting higher frame rates, so it's definitely recommended for best performance. However, if you don't have an external monitor, you can still use the laptop's display. I've also included the results of the 1060 Max-Q graphics inside the Dell G5 too, just for reference. And we can see that it's actually performing better than the 1080 graphics in the external enclosure. This is simply because Thunderbolt 3 isn't as fast as a full-blown PCIe connection. So in this example, if you had 1060 graphics in your laptop, you probably wouldn't benefit much with an Enclosure today. A 1080 Ti graphics card would close the gap more, but it's hard to say without testing. If your laptop already has decent discrete graphics, an Enclosure like this would be a great upgrade a few years from now. If you're gaming on your laptop, I think it's likely the graphics inside will become outdated the soonest. And rather than replacing the entire laptop in a few years to play new games, you should be able to get a decent performance increase using a future generation of graphics card in the Enclosure, as this should give you a nice boost despite the performance loss from Thunderbolt. Of course, it's a different story if you have a laptop without discrete graphics. The Enclosure will take you from hardly being able to run any games at all, to having a great experience, even with the Thunderbolt bottlenecks. As for the temperatures, I've set the 1080 to run at 50% fan speed to prevent it changing based on current temperature. And with the side panel on, it's only a couple of degrees warmer than with it completely off, so the air holes are doing a decent job. As for the overall volume of the system, here's how it sounded while playing games. It's important to note that this includes the sound of the laptop itself, and depends on the graphics card that's installed within the Enclosure. So realistically, it's a bit of a pointless demonstration as it will vary, but hopefully it gives you some idea of how a card inside it sounds. As for the price, it's not particularly cheap, coming in at just under $400 at the time of recording, and that's before you include the cost of buying a graphics card. However, despite this, I still think it would be cheaper than buying a new laptop with better internal graphics, making it a good option. Overall, I think the Mantiz Venus Enclosure would be a great option for someone that uses their laptop as their primary machine and doesn't have a desktop. That way, when you get home, you can just connect the laptop to the Enclosure easily with a single Thunderbolt cable, and potentially be charging, accessing the internet, accessing the hard drive within the Enclosure, and getting access to desktop graphics all in one. It would be best suited for laptops that have no discrete graphics, or with laptops with lower powered graphics that could use a performance boost and have a Thunderbolt 3 port. Let me know what you guys thought down in the comments, and leave a like if you want to see more external graphics Enclosure reviews on the channel. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for future tech videos like this one.